Hello there my fellow creators. For the video today we are upgrading the Razer Blade 16 and putting it through its paces not only for our videos but also for some pretty intense CGI workloads. We are going to exchange two RTX 3090s for 4090s, and to top it all off we are going to do the most of it in Spain. Because not only are we going to visit my very good friend and talented CGI artist Wieger Poutsma, but also because, well, it's Spain, so why wouldn't we? I met Wieger on social media quite a few years ago, and we have kept in touch over our shared passion for tech and creative content creation. I helped him a while ago to put together his first Windows-based workstation with the 3090s, and NotebooksBilliger and NVIDIA sponsored today's video so we can upgrade his already pretty beastly machine with not one but two of Team Green's desktop top dogs, the RTX 4090. Having worked on recent blockbusters like Dune or Wonka and creating high-end 3D assets for Netflix on a daily basis, Wieger is the perfect creative expert to tell us how a faster system and drastically reduced render times can make a tremendous difference in a fast-paced, deadline-driven industry. So while it might sound like total overkill to squeeze two of these bad boys into a single case, well, when time is money, it actually makes a ton of sense. But this channel is called Notebook Check for a reason, so I will also take the Razer Blade 16 with me. If you haven't seen our review about it yet, make sure to check it out after this video. This matte black beauty will be my personal machine for our video production on this trip, and I will also have Wieger try it to see how the mobile 4090 can live up to its desktop counterparts. While the two cards may share their names, they are two very different chips, representing your fastest possible option on the desktop or the mobile side of things. I am confident that the Blade will handle itself quite nicely, since it's actually a prime example of NVIDIA's studio validation. And even aside from its 175 watts RTX 4090 and Intel's latest mobile flagship CPU, it also comes with a color accurate OLED. And it allows you to upgrade the internals according to your needs, which is a godsend if you work with high-res video footage and multitask like a madman. But since it's not just all talk around here, I actually went ahead and got myself one of those 96GB RAM kits, since I often found myself being rather limited with 32GB, which is the de facto standard for higher-end notebooks right now. To keep the footage from our upcoming trip all in one place, I also threw in another 1TB NVMe drive I had lying around, turning the already pretty beefy 16-incher into a proper production powerhouse. Especially keeping in mind the form factor we are talking about here. While the Blade is not as super thin as the ROG G16 for example, it is still pretty compact without sacrificing performance or upgradability as we just talked about. So I can easily fit it into my carry-on with most of my camera gear without too much problems, as long as nobody asks me how heavy that bag is. But enough with my rambling, let's go to Spain. Well, with that little change of scenery, we also made it to Wieger's office, and we got the chance to enjoy a little bit of sunshine, which is a very nice change of pace compared to what the north of Germany currently has on offer. And before Wieger tells us a little bit more about his work and how he's actually taking advantage of two freaking 4090s, let's have a look at his system. And right from the start, fitting two of these puppies in a single case is actually quite a challenge, especially since we are dealing with MSI's gaming exterior variants today, which might be quiet and well-cooled, but are simply massive with a 3.5 slot cooler design. There was just no way we would have been able to fit those into Wieger's original case, the Meshify XL, so Fractal Design hooked us up with their torrent. This case is not only very spacious, but also has the unique advantage of relocating the power supply at the very top, which left us with enough space at the bottom of the case for the second GPU. On the CPU side, this one runs with an AMD Threadripper 3970X alongside 256GB of RAM and a whole load of SSD storage. And I have to say, while I am obviously more into notebooks these days, this machine is a sight to behold. When being out and about, Wieger uses a Gigabyte Aero 17 with a gorgeous 4K screen and a mobile 3080. So it will be very interesting to see how that one fares against the Razer. But enough from me, let's see what Wieger has to say.
I'm Wieger Poutsma, I'm digital artist and I'm creative director. I worked on series for Netflix, and next to that I did conceptual work for Wonka and for Dune. On a daily basis I've got many different tasks, Can be that I'm modeling, can be that I'm texturing, doing look dev, making the look and the feel of an object in a specific scene. I'm doing a lot of supervising work, so I'm supervising the team to get to the end point, to get to the scene the way it needs to look, it needs to work. And also I'm doing conceptual work. So basically I'm sketching on paper first and then translating it into a digital sketch. Can be in 3D, can be in Photoshop, and then later on making it into a product. The funny thing is, with Mac, I always had the feeling in productions I was not on the ball, but I was a day behind. I always had the feeling I didn't have the latest tool, I didn't have the things all the cool guys of the block had to make their work better. I was always trying to make deadlines and it didn't have a right feeling. I saw people around me work with PCs, and although at that moment I was a bit afraid of the transition, building my own PC and not Mac out of the box and just putting it there and it works, I thought at one moment, listen, I have to make this decision. I have to make the transition to PC because I see that if I start using GPUs and NVIDIA cards, I can do the things I want to do. So the scalability of it all and the integration between hardware and software for me was on point. Switching from my two 3090s to my dual 4090 system gives me a speed advantage of 4 times. That's huge. For instance, it doesn't matter if you go into Photoshop or if you go into Maya or with Octane. In Photoshop you feel immediately it's very responsive and there's no quirkiness or jittery or anything. In Maya with Octane, sometimes you forget that you are working not in HD, but you're working in 4K. For instance, the preview window, normally I always work HD, but sometimes you want to see something 4K. In the past, I would feel it when I was working 4K or even bigger, and I would have to switch back to HD. And now suddenly after half a day of work, I'm like, oh, I'm still working 6000 pixels wide. I didn't even scale it down. It's so fast that you can forget about the hardware. I found with the 4090s that the loading time of my scenes became a lot faster. So maybe saving me an hour per day. And if you just load the scene once, it's not a big problem. But if you have to do this over and over again, an hour per day in a deadline production is a lot. NVIDIA cards, they support RTX acceleration, and you notice it immediately when you turn it on or off. On your screen it's only a button, but once you turn it on you see why it's so important. Sometimes it shaves up to a third of your render times, which is great because that gives you more time for iterations, gives you more time to do some exploration of the creative part of your project rather than waiting for pixels to get more beautiful. Having a laptop is an integral part of my workflow. I've got my main system. When I'm at the studio, I'm working on my main system. The laptop I can use either going to clients, making last-minute iterations. I can use it to do things on set, or like in the beginning when I came to Spain, I didn't have my big setup and I was asked to do work for Wonka. I only had my laptop, so for me the laptop was my go-to at that moment to do the work. It worked perfectly. Would not be as fast as my main system with my dual GPU, but it was fast enough to do the work and get the deadline. The experience with the 4090 in the Razer was actually pretty close to what I'm used to. Yes, it's a bit slower because of course it's a mobile system, but I didn't have to compromise. It loads the same scenes. Basically it loads it with the same speed, so no long waiting times. And when working it's responsive. So yes, it doesn't build up the image as fast as my desktop system, but I was surprised how fast it was and how fluid it was. I didn't have to limit myself with textures. I didn't have to limit myself with amount of objects or geometry in the scene. That was the same. So a pretty good experience. It's a lot faster than my 3080 laptop, with which I did a lot of projects as well. So this will be a great upgrade for me to work with. It's a serious workstation with serious power that can do serious things. So if you in any situation work in a way that you cannot bring your normal gear, you're not working in your studio, you have to be on the road, on location or wherever, it's something that doesn't give you a lot of compromises. It gives you enough speed to work with any kind of project in a way that people would be impressed with the speed you're working on. So it's definitely something that to me is an integral thing in my workflow, whether it be my old laptop with a 3080 or it would be this amazing Razer with a 4090. If I could choose, of course, I would choose that one. Having this high-end gear at my fingertips gives me the possibility to not think anymore about my limitations. There's no reason for me to think I cannot do this job or I cannot get this deadline. I can have more iterations, so I can work longer on the creative part, getting it better and getting my clients with a happy face.
Alright, thank you so much for your insights and of course for having us and the invitation. Before we wrap things up for today, I couldn't pass up the chance to work on our videos on Wieger's machine. Since we use Resolve 18, which in its studio version can actually take advantage of multiple GPUs, I just had to run a little export test of one of our latest videos. And well, these GPUs are fast. Alright guys, there you have it. I know this video is sponsored, but considering what NVIDIA is bringing to the table for creators with their 40 series cards, it is safe to say that if you are serious about your work and if your applications can properly take advantage of everything these GPUs offer, and when time is money, you cannot really go wrong with Team Green, no matter if you're on a desktop or a digital nomad. A big shout out to our German retail partner Notebooksbilliger and NVIDIA for sponsoring our little trip to Spain. And of course to all of you for watching. If you want to learn more about anything we talked about today or want to get shopping right away, please follow the links in the description below. A big thanks to Wieger for his insights and his hospitality, and make sure to check out some of his work. That would be it from my end today. Please leave your like and sub on your way out. My name is Alex, you have been amazing, and I'll see you all back in the studio. Take care.